Guys, welcome back. It's Manic Wiz here, and we're going to be making a video on best Marksman Commander pairings and just guides for each Marksman Commander. So before we start, I just want to say I'm sorry for not posting, but I will start to post more again. And now we are actually going to start some just like guides in general on all of Dragons and the game, because it's a new game and I just really want to spread some information to you guys so you can play it better and be stronger. So let's jump into it. First, we're going to talk about Guan, who I think is the all-time best all-around Marksman Commander. Now, I think this because you can go for her talents. You can go in for peacekeeping to kill dark creatures and darklings, but you can also pair her with other Marksman Commanders and you will do a lot of damage to behemoths. Now, in my past behemoths, I've always been first or second because there's some whales in here and I'm a low spender, but even though I spend much less than them, I still can get like first or second place with Nico and some other Marksman Commanders. So as I said, you can go peacekeeping with her, and for that you would just go full peacekeeping, and if you have some extra, I would go with Marksman to get some attack, like over here and here. But for peacekeeping, I wouldn't recommend it because I think that, like especially for free to play, I think that you can pair her with a lot of other good Marksman Commanders and you will do very good compared to other people. But you can do the peacekeeping route, or you can go the PvP or behemoth route, which is what I'm doing. So normally I would fill out the precision tree and then go up a little for marksman to get that skill damage and attack. But I went for both of them right now because we just faced a behemoth and I needed to get as much damage as possible in a quick amount of time so I could get the top rankings in that and get rewards. But for Guanwin, I'd recommend getting her to the 3 stars, just so you can get her to level 20 so she can have other commanders with her, WA commanders, but also anything past that, I would say you shouldn't be rushing towards it. Like 3 damage dealt while you have 50% unit count or higher isn't that good, and like you should be focusing in other commanders, putting stars in them instead of getting one commander to 4 stars. But yeah, go up to here, but first of course max out her first skill. Now, we're going to jump down to Craig, which is another very good Marksman Commander. Now, what makes Craig so special is that in the beginning, every kingdom for about a week has this event called Road to Glory, where you can get a ton of Craig tokens. You can get about 60 or 70, including the commander itself. Now, if you add that along with the Craigs that you're probably going to get in the tavern, that will give you a lot of sculptures to, be ready and get his skills up. Especially as a free-to-play player, it's hard to get commander's skill levels up and get some really good commanders. Now, for Craig, I would do a marksman, a full marksman, and a little bit of mobility. Because if you do go the Guanwin route for peacekeeping, I would put Craig primary, Guanwin secondary, so then Guanwin doesn't have her peacekeeping talent trees, but you can use her skills and her levels because that's very good. So yeah, I just go full marksman to get all that attack and skill damage, especially for Craig, and some mobility. Now for Craig, I'd recommend, again, only going to 3-star because 4-star is an engineering skill. I mean, if you want to use him for engineering, you can, but I think it's only worth it to get him to 3 stars. And then near the end game, if you have extra tokens, I would go to 4 stars so you can max out his final skill. Now we'll move down to Nico. Nico is one of the 2 legendary Marksman Commanders, and he is very, very good. I would say the best commander in the game at dealing with behemoths. Now, this is because Nico does a huge amount of damage and reduces the opponent's or behemoth's defense, which is very good for doing more damage. Now for Nico, normally I'd recommend him as a secondary early game because if you pair him with Guanwin, you can do a lot of damage. But if you are doing him as primary, I would go full marksman and make sure to pick up all that skill damage and attack. And then I'd also go for precision to get the attack and to take less normal attack damage, which can be really good if your troop is lacking health or defense. For Nico, I'd recommend getting to 3rd star as quick as possible, and then 4th star is good, but I mean I wouldn't like spend all your time and effort into getting a 4th star. It is a good, it's like a good thing that you should get. It is a good checkpoint for you to get, but I wouldn't recommend spending all your time on it because it isn't as important as leveling up your other commanders. Nico's final ability is decent, but like you shouldn't be rushing towards the end. And as a free-to-play, unless you can get Nico to his first skill to 3 or higher, I wouldn't recommend investing in him because it's really just not worth it. He doesn't do enough skill damage. I was lucky when I got him to 3-1-1, but that's still like hitting the bare minimum for what I would invest in a commander. Now, going on to our last Marksman Commander, it's going to be Kanara. Now, Kanara can only be Kanara can only be obtained through a wheel, which happens in an event a little bit after your kingdom starts. So normally only high spenders or whales can get Kanara to good level. But if you're a free-to-play and you can get Kanara to 3-1-1-1, I would say that's pretty good and good enough to summon her. For Kanara, I would go, it depends what you're going to do. If you want to go for Behemoth, Peacekeeping, I would just do Marksman and add a little bit of PvP. But normally I would go full PvP, a little bit of control, and then you can get some Marksman to get that attack, and if you can, pick up that skill damage. Now, let's talk best Marksman Commander pairings. Now, the number one pairing for free-to-play would be Guanwin primary and Nico as your secondary. And this would be Guanwin with her Marksman talent tree. Now, if you were going to go Peacekeeping with Guanwin, I would go Guanwin primary and Craig secondary. And then if you don't have Nico for PvP, I would go Craig and then Guanwin primary because Guanwin has the Peacekeeping tree. Now, for the highest damage for free-to-play, I would also do Guanwin and Nico. Now, if you were going to do a flying march, which you could only use Craig for, I wouldn't recommend doing a flying march because one, there's no flying marksman. And so, again, if you're a spender, there are a few good commander pairings you could do. If you're like a mid or high spender, you can get Nico to a couple of good high levels, like maybe 5-3-1-1, and then put Guanwin as secondary, which would be a very good commander pairing against anything really. But if you're a high whale spender, I would do Kanara primary and Nico secondary. Now this would only be if you can get Kanara to at least 5-5-1-1, because normally I would just put Nico as primary. You can get him higher because Kanara can only be obtained from the wheel, unless they might add her to the tavern in the future, but I doubt it. So that was it for this guide, guys. Now this is the Marksman guide, and I'll be posting a mage guide and a infantry guide, and I might post a cavalry guide, but I don't know, the cavalry isn't that big in this game. So that's all for today, guys. If you want me to post a different guide on Call of Dragons, make sure to comment down below and tell me what you want me to make. And so first, before we end, I'll give you guys a little details about the kingdom. So right now I'm in server 107, and I have about almost 1 million power, which is pretty good. I'm ranking 96, so top 100, and I'm currently in the top alliance with 69 million power. And I'm high ranked up in here. I haven't been grinding as much, so I'm not as high as I used to be, ranked 14. And this is a really good alliance, guys, so if you are in 107, make sure to tell me, and in the comments, or you can just chat to me in game and I'll make sure to find you a spot here. So that's all for today's video, guys. So I'll see you later.